So I'm following up on some 40K comments, some 40K questions here on my YouTube archive, where we were looking at some ideas, way of Sam Han. We were looking at some ideas with my Sam Han war host, and I was following up on my blog talking about my combination of units. And I say my combination because certainly the Sam Han Craft world has access to everything, all the vehicles, all the various types of units. They've got the aspects. They certainly have the shrines. They have the avatar. They have everything on there. But I have chosen certain units for my vision and my voice of how it operates. And that kind of led us into, I was covering that over on my blog and pulling in some comments there. That led into this idea of maximum overdrive as a way to potentially build your army. A way, not the way. And it's interesting because my Berserkers of Scalathrax army follows the same path, but with a slightly different facing on it. So you have resources. Before we even get into the models that we're going to pick, this type of list building is independent of it. You take all of your points, you take all of your power level, you take everything that is going to be the size of the game that you are going to regularly play, and you dump 100%. You select your models based on shooting, movement, or the assault. If I look at my Sam Han Warhost, everything is fast, everything is mech'd up. Jet bikes, Vipers, Wave Serpents, Fire Prisms. Nothing is on foot. Now, on a side note, building on those tactics, when I've tried to play Rangers in the past, or I've added some other units in, they became isolated very, very quick because the Sam Han Warhost wants to operate as one giant kind of like wolf, one kind of giant beast on the table where everything is swinging over to engage. So 80% of my army is engaging pieces of your army in small bits, and I'm overwhelming you on dice. Throws out a good amount of dice, the army, but certainly nothing that's overly going to impress you compared to even what Space Marines and other armies can throw out. But having the mobility, the momentum, that swing is so important. Now, of course, terrain's going to modify it, mission's going to modify it, and at what level we're playing at is going to modify it. But when I had something that is on foot, I mean, I tried Wraith Lords. I love Wraith Lords on there, even though they've been kind of tanking in 8th a little bit. They get isolated, they get torrented down, they get diced down on there. So with that, I take all my points and I put it into mobility. In my Berserkers of Scalathrax, Cornate Glory list, and yes, the rumors are true, I've been casting myself in with the Emperor for our Vigilus Crusade games on there, playing my Black Templars. I haven't done the Templars in a long time, so I'm really excited. And it just seems like an appropriate crusade to launch on there to regain fallen honor. But with my Berserkers of Scalathrax, all of the points are poured into the assault. Whatever shooting I have in that list happens to be whatever the heck the unit is equipped with. Bolt pistols, things like that on there. Combi bolters, whatever we're going in. Everything is geared towards the assault. And initially, speaking of Black Templars, on the surface it looks like my Black Templars, it's an assault army, obviously. But I won't say it's an overload in the assault phase, because based to the nuances of Space Marines and based on the units that I wanted to play, yes, totally self-imposed limitations, I needed, obviously there were going to be elements of assault, but I needed very, very fast abilities to get up there with Razorbacks. And taking the Razorbacks to boost the very firepower that I need, because I'm taking some more expensive units. I don't have, for my Black Templars, I don't have the critical model mass, the dice mass, that I have with my Berserkers of Scalathrax. So what that required was utilizing smaller units and to boost the firepower, boosting it with the Razorbacks. Contrast that with my Berserkers of Scalathrax. I generate dice momentum, sufficient dice, by just cultists everywhere. The only people that have me beat on cultists are Genestealer cults. That's it. Lots and lots of cultists on there. Volume of dice, momentum of dice, really quick. If you're coming into this podcast, it is up in my archive on the YouTube channel. Volume of dice is where when you want to accomplish something in 40K, you need to have the dice to make your opponent's unit vanish. First you have to hit, then you have to wound, and then they have to fail, potential saves on there. If they get saves, you do that by having lots and lots of dice to shoot. When you take expensive units, you have less mass on the table. It's also not only dice, it's being able to cover all aspects of the table. You can have something that throws out 60 dice, but if that's only one unit and it's over on the right side of the table and your opponent's on the left side of the table, you need to kind of spread yourself out. So you look to bulk up on cheap dice throwing units on there. Cultists do that well. Space Marines, playing a pure list, playing a Templar list, looking at that, I make that up with Razorbacks. So it has the illusion of an assault list, but it's not all in. It's not an overload in that phase because I have speed and I have other aspects that I've incorporated. So another way maybe to consider building your list. I should say, with a warning, with a disclaimer, when you load up on one area, you are putting all of your tactica into that area. So my Berserkers of Scalathrax, the tactica is I'm going to run across the table. You're going to shoot me. I'm going to take a lot of losses, but the hate is going to build. Then I'm going to crash into your ranks, bolt, pistol, and chainsword, and that's it. That's where we're going to make or break and settle it. But by there is no plan B, there is no recovery. It's a very one-sided army. You see what I'm pulling out, and you're like, even if you're not listening to these podcasts and you haven't been following my channel, you're going to know right away. You know, if you played 10, 11 games of 40K, you're going to know right away what I'm doing. Now, there's the skill and the nuances and the ways units interlock. I mean, I'm not just running across the table. But if you have a counter for me, or you do counter, I can't come back. I can't recover. So it doesn't have the tactical flexibility when you load up in the shooting phase, or in the assault phase, or in the movement phase. But when it comes together, it's really fun to play, especially if you enjoy one of those phases. You know, if like Orc Speed Freak, that's where you're going to load up all your stuff on there. It is a lot of fun to play, but you have to know what you're getting yourself into.